High-performance drills, tailored to club players. Taylor and Jenny Dent.
Jenny Dent reached a career-high ranking of number 52 in the world and is the winner of 6 WTA titles. She competed against top players including the Williams sisters, Monica Seles, and Jennifer Capriati. She's the mother of 4 and CEO of Birch Racket and Lawn Club. Taylor Dent reached a career high of number 21 in the world and is the winner of 4 ATP titles. He has wins over Novak Djokovic, Andy Roddick, James Blake, Leighton Hewitt, and Murat Safin.
Okay, I'm going to run to
coached Jared Donaldson to a top 100 ranking in the world. And I give you the Dents.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having us. And yeah, I guess we got signed up to talk about some high performance drills for the club player. And I guess, just some opening thoughts on drills in general. For me, there's a ton of great drills out there. I don't believe in a perfect drill. Every drill that I've tried to institute to kind of simulate point play and get high repetition, because that's why you do a drill, right? You do a drill so you can kind of take a small piece of this point that we play and just give it a high repetition to build skill. If you're not building skill in a drill, then I figure you're better off just playing points. It's more realistic. But like I said, having said that, every drill that I've tried to do, as a pro or I've tried to do for my players, it can be abused. So I would just say that's the biggest disclaimer on any drill that I've seen done, is there's a correct way to kind of honor the drill, what we're trying to get at. And then there's a way to win the drill and to kind of cheat the circumstance a little bit. And we'll talk about that as we go on. And, for me, at the end of the day, that we have some videos to show you guys, and these videos are not drills done by your average club player. I just kind of wanted to show what the drills are supposed to look like, and then everybody knows how to take steps backwards from there. Do you have any thoughts?
No. I'm
tank. Okay.
I'm just hoping that we can get the drills up. I apologize.
Yeah, we've had a little bit of technical difficulty on our end, but if we can't get you the videos, then we will do the best we can to just kind of talk through what those drills look like. The first drill, I'll just start talking about the first drill that I like is it's called 2 and 2s.
All right.
And 2 and 2s, I feel like any drill I find where you can get both players working on something very important is a win, because sometimes these drills isolate one person and one person gets the benefit and the other person kind of has to play along. But 2 and 2s is one of those drills where I feel like, man, it is just awesome for both players. Okay, so 2 and 2s.
Yeah.
Basically what you have is, 2 people on a court, one person sits in a half. Deuce side was, the drill that we were watching. And the guy who's running just hits the ball back to that deuce side. Then you have that person in the deuce side just hits 2 cross and 2 line. And so what the person who's not moving, what they're working on is really making the opponent run, opening up the court, making the court big. So how to do this drill wrong, in my opinion, would be just to roll the ball in the court, not be offensive. Because if you're being offensive, you got to put a little bit of pace on the ball. The other thing would be to hit the ball close to the sidelines, gaining that skill. Like when you see high-level points being played, they really use the width of the court, and hitting down the middle of the half oftentimes doesn't cut it. So getting really squeezing that sideline, my dad likes to call it, kind of outside the half of the half type of thing. But ultimately it's a couple of feet away from the sideline and really making that court big for the person. And that's really important for me to be able to do on both sides, because if I'm playing somebody and I know that they aren't going to hurt me off of one side, whether it's their backhand most likely or their forehand, then it's a very easy equation for me. If I feel like I'm behind in the point, I'm just going to play to the side that I feel like is less threatening. I don't have to cover as much court, and then the point will neutralize. And then when I get a ball I like, then I get to start opening the court and produce the point that way. That's one of the reasons why Djokovic is so tough to play. You don't really have an opportunity to neutralize that point going to his backhand or going to his forehand. So being able to do this drill from the offensive perspective off of both wings, in my opinion, is really, really important. Learning to take time away, being close to the baseline is a big deal. Do you have anything to add to the offensive side?
No, I was going to say, what do you do with a club player who's not as skilled?
Well, in a club player, you're beating me to the punch.
I'm sorry.
Unbelievable. Okay. Always what happens. Let me talk about the defensive player first before we talk about, kind of watering it down a little bit to a club player's level. The defensive side, what they're really working on is being able to hit an aggressive ball to a safe location. Just exactly what I talked about is being able to pick on that righty's forehand or lefty's backhand and vice versa on the ad side. And being able to do that while being moved, while being pushed around the court and handling pace. So that's how the best players, break serve. I feel like, I tend to like to break tennis down into two components. It's holding and it's breaking. The best players that break serve are the most solid. They move around the court the best, and they tend to just be able to make the opponent play one extra ball. It's not like they're breaking from hitting highlight shots point after point after point. Typically, it's the server that breaks themselves. So you have to be able to move fast enough and be solid enough to each side of the court to give that person a chance to mess up. And on the flip side, the best holders of serve tend to be the most offensive. Like when you think about, Federer holding, he's hitting a big first serve and being able to use his forehand to open up the court and move the player around. So that defensive side is really working on that basic skill of being able to run, having endurance, and hitting a solid ball to a safe location. Again, he's not trying to go close to the sideline anymore. He is going down the middle of the half, just targeting that player's weaker side, or what they think is their weaker side. So that is the high level way to do it. On the club player level, again, all the drills I have are singles drills. So I apologize if you were holding out for some double stuff, but this is all single stuff. You can put 3 people on a court. And you manage to get longer rallies and control the point a lot more, because moving side to side 2 and 2s is still pretty taxing on the body. And you can put some cones up. I always find putting cones up is a really good thing. For some reason, it just makes them aware of just hitting the ball in isn't good enough. We're trying to hone in on a specific part of the court. We're trying to use the whole court, not just the court in general. But adding that third person on the court to the moving side is a really, really big benefit. Obviously, you lose out on a key component of the running, but just to get that rally and to build the skill to be able to do those rallies, it makes the rally a lot more manageable.
And I think also something you can work on depending on skill level is you can have bigger targets. So if you do put 2 people on the one side, or you have 3 people total on the court, you can include the alleys so that the goal becomes moving, directional changes, and so that there's still some feeling of accomplishment, that they're able to get the ball 2 times to one side or one half, including the doubles alley. And then 2 times to the other half. If you've got another variation, if you've got a player who really wants to try and run a little bit, and you want just 2 players on the court, and you don't want it to be too taxing, you can go 3 and 3s. You can include just 1 more shot of rest to one side if they have that much skill. Another variation would be for the pro to step in as one of the 2 on the one side, so that pro can assist in keeping the rally going. I think another variation, if skill level is really kind of a struggle, is even just for the one person, is to put them in the middle. Maybe they're not they don't have to be on a side so much as they just in the middle, and they're working on moving that ball from one side of the court to the other side of the court with 2 on the other side, so that they aren't feeling like they're pinned to a small target if they're not skilled enough to do that. So I think those are some variations of a 2 and 2 drill, but that drill is a drill that you see at the very highest level, and it's a very challenging drill that all the pros do, and we can you know, have the club players feel like they can do it as well.
Yeah. Yep. So I think that's it kind of for 2 and 2s. Moving on to another drill is I really like this drill we call ring ring. You may call it something else. I don't know why we call it ring ring. It's just what I've played since my dad did an academy back in California, and this can be played with a lot of people on the court. So basically, ring ring goes. You have the king of the hill has the basket of balls, and they feed a short ball. It's basically like a service line feed, and it is an approach shot. So
we're gonna attempt a different.
Okay, all right. Well, there you go. Jerry's normally writing, but this is basically what ring ring looks like. So what Jerry's doing is he's getting fed short balls to from the approaching. Josh is approaching, and Jerry knows where the approach is going. So because the passer knows where the approach is going, I strongly encourage the players to hit the first passing shot at the volleyer and work on that 2-shot pass. Try to dip it down low at their feet, get them to bump it up, and then and pass them on the second ball. I find that if you let the passer just wail away and try to hit the passing shot off of the first ball, you miss a lot of stuff to work on. Here's another way to cheat this drill. In this drill, because the retriever, the passer, knows where the ball's going, the approach is going, it actually pays off to approach deep and kind of jam them up a little bit. But that's not what you want to be doing in a point. You want to make the volley easy in a point, so you want to approach wider and closer to the sideline. And it's unnecessary risk in this drill, but if you want to do the drill right, how the pros do it, like if you watch Federer and even Nadal, Djokovic, whoever, Tsitsipas coming into the net, they're not hitting an approach down the middle. I mean, they're getting the person off of the court, so they have a nice, easy, big piece of court to work with to hit that volley safely into and hit a winner. And again, that gets played on either side. And so the way the scoring works is when you're on the king side, you get to keep every point you win. And when you're on the approaching side, it takes 3 wins to get over and replace the king. And people seem to really like this game a lot. The only shortfall of this drill that I feel is working on the recognition of what an approach is and when that happens in a real point, because basically we're telling them you are coming in on this first ball. So the decision making of coming in is missed on this drill big time, and it really upsets me. And I've done some variations, but they don't quite get at it. But what this drill does work on is it works on an accurate approach, and it works on having some courage to come in and try to finish off the point up at net. Some variations for higher level stuff is the passer doesn't know where you're approaching, and actually that can works at lower levels better than higher levels, just because the lower levels have a tough time just directing the ball anyway. At higher levels, when they're allowed to approach anywhere, the points don't last. But I think that serves a purpose too, to be honest with you, that I try to point out to the kids, like, that's how big of an advantage get to moving up to this weak ball and crushing a forehand, close to the sidelines is, because the other person on the other side of the court doesn't have a chance to play. So I throw that in there sometimes. The points aren't great, but I hope it just gives our players courage when they see a short ball to move up there and take advantage of it, instead of just letting it go up, letting it come down, and then just rallying another ball. Other than that, the variations on ring ring, I feel are not there. You can start the approach with a volley instead. I've done that. You can start the point off with an overhead instead. So you have bottom line is you have a few different ways you can start the point with ring ring. I've done starting ring ring on the second ball. So basically you take the first ball away, and then you can't come in on that one, and then you have to come in on the second ball. So you can kind of mess around with how you get to the net, but the bottom line is it's an approach volley game, and just make sure you're approaching wide and volleying to the open court. That's another thing that I have too with this drill, is because the passer knows where the approach is going, they're not off balance. They're hitting a balanced passing shot, and so it does actually reward the volleyer to go behind the passer. But in a real match, you're not going to know where I'm approaching. So you're going to be a little bit more off balance. You're going to be reaching, and your momentum is going to carry you a little bit further. So if you approach wide, you always kind of want to take time away and go to the open court. You don't want to take time away and go back to the passer. So that's another thing that I have to yell at the kids at all the time. One more thing that I don't like about this drill. My kids, I don't know about anybody else's kids, but my kids are lazy, and they start waiting for the short ball 3/4 court. Really bad habit to get into. If it didn't matter, I wouldn't care. But what ends up happening is they end up getting so close to the bounce that they have to have their body weight going backwards to hit this approach shot. So their momentum is going backwards, and they think it's more advantageous or more offensive to be closer to the net, when in fact, after they've hit the shot, they're further back than they would have been if they would have just started behind the baseline a little bit. So teaching them that body weight and momentum coming into the net, coming into that ball, is a really, really big deal. And just because you're inside the baseline does not mean you're offensive. And in fact, if your body weight's going backwards, it actually means you're defensive from a really, really awkward position in the court. So those are some of the things that I have to kind of harp on the kids a bit about. You have anything to add on ring?
I think some variations. I mean, I think that this drill can really be applied to doubles as well, ladies doubles, men's doubles. Playing half court, play ring half court, play ring half court, cross court, down the lines. There's a zillion different ways you can play this, but just obviously forcing that one side, the one person to be coming forward, and having to get to the net and play and learn what their approach shot does to their first volley. I think that's that it's just, you can apply it to a lot of different levels.
All right, next drill.
Yeah.
Which one do you want
Let's do bump.
Okay. Bump is we call it bump. I don't know, maybe ladder or up the river, down the river. I've heard it called. So again, all these things all these drills I'm sure you've seen in one way, shape, or form. And all it is, it's a cross-court rally. And so all we're doing is really we're working on trying to hit big targets. Again, when we're doing this drill, it's for consistency and learning how to hit an aggressive ball safe in the court. I think that being able to have that skill of hitting an aggressive ball safe is probably, in modern tennis, one of the biggest skills you can have. We do this game. This game is actually best with like 8 people on 2 different courts. And, the coach determines the high side, whether it's the ad side or the do side. And you play like a first person to 11 rotates the whole ladder. And if you're on the high side, let's just say it's the do side, and you win, you get to go up a court to the ad side. If you lose, you go down to the ad side on your court. So there's a few different in that game to me is pretty simple. What I try to get at from the kids, again, the kids that try to cheat the drill, they'll come to the net early. It's not a net rushing game. It's not designed to be that. They will try to just hit through the opponent. They'll just slap the ball flat and just hopefully get an unforced error, something like that. Really, it's to see if you can increase your shot tolerance. Can you, instead of being able to hit 3 balls with good quality into a big area of the court, can you hit 4? Can you hit 5? Can you hit 6? And in theory, as you go up the ladder, it becomes tougher because the ball quality gets better and better, and the consistency gets better and better. So that game is, I actually really like that game. I think for our kids who are just, I don't want to say beginning, but our lower tournament level kids, if they could stomach playing bump for 2 hours a day and then just hit some serves, I think that their results would flourish. But obviously, attention spans are an issue, and not everybody's goal is the same when they come to academy sometimes. So I try to sprinkle that in there as often as I can. Their tolerance for that is probably like 4 games, maybe 5 games, and then we have to move on, which is kind of a bummer, because that wins a lot of matches at lower level, just hitting a good quality ball across court, not opening up the angles on yourself, and just being more solid the opponent.
Yeah, it's a consistency drill. So, what we try and pull out of the kids is yes, we are keeping score, and sometimes we will keep score by a certain number. So when someone on a court, and we'll do this 4 or 5 courts together. So we'll have bump going across 20 kids, a ladder, and we'll say, okay, first person to 11 or first person to 15, we'll change everyone, we'll rotate the ladder, or we'll do it by time. And what we try to pull out of them is, yes, we are keeping score just so that we are pulling intensity out of you. But again, the goal is, why do we call it bump? Because we don't want them to bump it.
Well, I think I haven't
Bumping the
invented.
next person?
Yeah, you bump up or you
Okay.
bump down type of thing. I don't know.
Anyway, it's a good question. But we're trying to get them to accelerate, to hit aggressive spin to a very safe spot. So we're not asking them to hit close to the sideline. We're not saying get anywhere near the sideline. We're actually, at times, we'll put the cone it doesn't work well with the cone in there, just because if you hit the cone, it disrupts everything. But the idea is to hit the center of the half and hit that as many times with as much topspin and as much pace as you can, with as much quality as you can, and just try and increase your shot tolerance, like Taylor said. For the less skilled players, we will add in the alleys, because they aren't able to keep that ball within a 6 to 10 foot radius of the target. We might have to add in those alleys. So that's another thing that we do.
And another variation of bump is dingles. I'm sure everybody's seen this drill, and I really like dingles as well. And I like it because the intensity of the kids goes way up. And that's kind of another thing that I've found with drills and games, is if you can involve a teammate and try to keep it, for singles, then the intensity just goes up. So dingles is played, it's doubles, singles. So you've got 2 rallies going. You need 4 players on a court. You've got 2 rallies going, and they're going cross court at the same time. As soon as somebody misses from the singles court, the other person calls out dingles, and then it becomes a doubles point. So the alleys are involved. And our pros love it.
The ladies love it. The men love it. It's a great doubles game as well, because you're working on your cross court rallying, and then once something messes up, then everyone's involved, and all of a sudden it's okay. Where are we, and how do we get into position, and what is that position? Where do we want to go forward? Do we want to go back? It creates these opportunities that you can't always sort of start from in drills. They just happen, in a point, and it's like, okay, how do we make the best of this?
And getting back to the intensity for me, like if you can find a drill that gets 100% effectiveness and 100% intensity, well, you've struck gold. To me, that's the goal. I mean, because there's a lot of drills out there like bump, where I think it is 100% effective. But the problem is the intensity, for the first game is really high. Then the second game, we're like, oh, okay, let's do it again, And then by the 4th game, the intensity is done. The usefulness is done. And that's kind of some of the drills that I like that aren't 100% productive. Like, I don't think dingles is 100% productive. It's good. But the fact that the participants are trying so hard because they're having so much fun, I think outweighs it, when you talk about great drills where they're going to try half-heartedly. So that's another drill that we like doing is doubles attack. And again, you guys have seen this before.
Did you explain the scoring for dingles?
Oh, dingles is basically if you win both points, you get it. If you win both rallies,
the doubles round, the singles point and the doubles
and
point,
then you get 1 point.
Then you get 1 point, and if you split them, then it's
just a wash.
It's a wash.
Exactly.
And we normally play to like 5 because it's really hard to win both points all the time. So
and then just on that theme of games / drills that I like, we play doubles attack. I've heard it called approach volley overhead. I'm sure if you've had 6 or 8 people on a court, you play it all the time. And we'll see a video of it. I don't know if that played, but you've got a king side, and the king side is at the baseline. And then you've got the challenger side. The challenger side gets an approach as a team. So you approach, both players have to come to the net. If you win that point, you get a volley. If you win that point, you get an overhead. Here's the volley point, and then if you win that point, then the overhead point, and if you win all 3 points, you get to replace the kings on the other side. Again, another game where people just love it. Like, it actually mystifies me a little bit how much everybody loves this game. I guess, you know what, it doesn't mystify me, because when I play it, I have a great time too. So I can't blame anybody. But obviously, you know, we have some people that just want to play and have a high bunch of reps, but then we throw in a game like this and they're just eating it up. So again, why we, you know, jumping on what Jenny said about Dingles, I like this game because in a typical drill, you don't get to work on awkward, unique shots. And that is pretty much all this game is. You've got weird shots, one after another after another. You know, you've got awkward volleys, you've got awkward ground strokes, you've got awkward overheads, backhand overheads, reflex volleys, half volleys. So this game is just all about being adaptable and having feel to make something out of a bad situation.
I think that, I mean, this kind of, for like a variation that I use with my ladies drills is, they enjoy this. I think you can, if you have even numbers, I normally, with my less skilled players, I will allow them to play every shot. So they'll hit an approach shot and they'll play that point. If they don't win the point, I'm still going to give them a volley. If they don't win that point, I'm still going to give them an overhead. But to take out the other team, they do have to win all 3 points. So there's still, they still get the repetition that they're desiring, because sometimes if you play a game with less skilled players and it's like a one shot out, then they get a little frustrated. They get disinterested. So I always have them complete all 3 points, regardless of whether they lose one of them or all of them. If you have odd numbers and you wanted to play this, then I allow the person to come in for whoever missed the shot. So they'll hit the approach shot, they'll come to the net, they'll play the point out. If Susie, let's just say Susie and Maria are playing, Susie misses the volley, she'll step out, and then the next person, Jane, will start at the baseline, and they'll actually hit the approach shot and come in while Maria is already at the net in that one up, one back formation. So there's some variety there that you can use for that. You know, again, this is kind of going back to the ring situation where, you know, a less skilled player can have the entire court to hit into. You know, they're coming to the net, they're having to come forward all the way. So I think it's great to be able to work on the volley and the overhead as well. Overheads are tough. I mean, not many people hit them well, at least at the club level. It's just a difficult shot. So, you know, normally they still have a chance to win those points. But yeah.
Want to go next row?
Yeah. Right. You want to do offense, defense? We have
Wait.
offense.
Oh, so sorry. So we have a couple of questions here. I thought you picked that up.
I'm so sorry.
So we had one question: where does the other two stand on Dingle's game while the other two are hitting? Basically, it's a 4-person game. So you all start at the baseline, and it's a bump rally to start until that bump rally, you know, somebody misses either in the doubles alley or long or on the other half of the court, and then it basically becomes mayhem. You know, it's a free for all. It's a doubles point. Yes, 2 balls going at once cross court. Perfect. No, yeah, exactly. Okay, perfect.
All right.
Awesome.
You want to do serve +1, 3 first serve?
Yeah, let's talk about just in general a handful of different drills. We have this on video. It's not going to be that good anyway. But I talked about it earlier. Any drill that gets, in my opinion, to the heart of the returner has to be solid, making the person play. I mean, I'll tell you the people I hated playing against the most, serving against the most, were Djokovic, Murray. It was Agassi. It was Leighton Hewitt. Now Banyan. It were the guys that didn't necessarily hit the biggest returns, the most exciting returns, the flashiest returns. They just hit returns in all the time, and then they didn't give any free points. So, you know, getting at the heart of some drills, basically saying, look, we want to be solid here because this is how we're going to break. That's one of the drills that I do with some of our players. Is it's a first serve drill. So you have one person on the one side, and they only get to hit first serves. If they miss 2 first serves in a row, they lose the point. Why I like doing that is it forces you to adjust. I can't tell you how many times I will be on a court with somebody, and I don't typically speak a lot in my lessons. I like my students to try to figure it out, but I can't tell you how many times I see somebody just hit, let's just say a serve in the net. And it's like, just do something, miss it different somewhere, and I feel like, with that 2 first serve game, it really puts pressure on the server to not miss for the same reason again. I mean, if you miss in the net, aim a little bit higher, stay up, pass the ball a little bit longer. If you miss it long, try to get over the ball a little bit earlier, and really put pressure on that adjustment. So from the server's perspective, they get 2 first serves, and they really need to be working on that first ball. Again, kind of that ring first ball, because what happens after a good first serve, or what do great holders of serve do? They serve accurately, they get decent mid-court balls to take advantage of, and then they open up the court. They look for opportunities to take away time and come in and play ring. So from the server's perspective, that's what they're trying to do. From the returner's perspective, it's the exact opposite. They want to prolong this point. So they try to just get a racket on the first serve. They try to block it back in the middle of the court. And then what I encourage them to do is get ready to run. That's what the server's trying to do, trying to make you run. So get ready to run. And when you get that first ball, you play a bump ball. You rip that ball heavy to their less scary side. I mean, if you're playing Federer it's no question where you should be hitting the first ball when you're in trouble. I mean, you don't want him to see too many forehands. Same as Nadal. You don't want him to see too many forehands. We talked about the problem with Djokovic. There's different issues with that. But bottom line is learning how to hit an aggressive ball on the run to a safe location is huge in that drill. And I try to break it up quite a bit. Basically saying, okay, we're playing first serve points now. Now we're playing first serve return points, because they have different feelings to them. We're playing second serve points. We're playing second serve return points. For girls, it's different with second serve returns. For guys, I tell guys, just be solid. That's what the best breakers of serve do. They're solid. They just try to neutralize the point. But for girls, that's not what the best girls do on second serve returns. They get up there and they hit those things hard, and they hit those things aggressive. So devising drills that can be carried over into matches is paramount for me. And again, even if that means the reps are less than if we're just rallying down the middle or rallying cross court for bump, I feel like those are nice to build skill. But once a player has skill, it's time to simulate a point as much as we can. One story on that, we had this coach out in California, and he'd always want to play baseline points with me. He was a good player. He had a couple ATP points, super nice guy. And the baseline games would go very, very close, very close. And, he'd win some, I'd win some. It was 50-50. And then, so he's like, well, let's play a set now. And so I'm like, oh, okay, fine, whatever. I don't mind playing anybody. And so I beat him 6-0. And he's just like, how's that possible? I'm so close to you on these baseline points. I'm like, a point just has a different rhythm. And so I guess that is my endeavor. That's our endeavor, is try to pursue the rhythm of a point in a drill. And then I think you've struck gold.
So in that, did you first serve a serve +1? You're trying to basically get them to hit on that first ball. I think that for a less skilled player who's obviously playing singles, or maybe they want to try and serve and volley, maybe it's a practice for doubles, but they're working on that. It's having them go through the motion of the serve, regardless of whether they make it in or not.
Yep.
Right? And then having you as the pro can feed
Yep.
in the next ball. You can feed it hard. You can feed it soft. You can feed it high. You can.
And can I jump on that real quick? I saw Nadal do that for 2 hours straight at the Australian Open one year. He had his coaches on the court. He'd rip a serve, they'd feed a ball mid-court, and he'd try to smoke a forehand to a sideline as hard as he could. So that drill is also good at the highest levels.
Yeah. I mean, if, for even a less skilled player, or if you're trying to accomplish a faster recovery for the first ball, you could be on the same side as the server, and you could be feeding in the ball, hand feeding in that ball quickly right after they serve, so that they're having to react and get ready faster for that first ball. I mean, that's a different variation. But yeah, like Taylor said, it's the most similar you can make a drill to a point, and for people to recognize how important that first ball is after they serve. If they've, whether they've got a good serve or not, if they've got a great serve, being able to capitalize on that first ball. If they've got a terrible serve, learning how to defend on the first ball. If they're trying to serve and volley, serving and really running in and trying to get that first volley where it's not maybe at your shoelaces all the time, or putting them into that position even though it's uncomfortable, and having them learn how to get out of it or practice the skill of hitting shoelace volleys. So, there's good to that as well. So it just depends on your student. I think we have 2 minutes left.
Amazing job, babe.
We'll be quiet.
You're incredible.
I think we had fed ball drills.
Yeah. No, I think we covered kind of the nuts and bolts of what we do here, and as far as like variations, the more variations you give the players, the more excited they are. Oh, it's something new. No, not really. It's just a slight twist on it. All right.
All right.